Hi, everybody. It's Mike Kerr, and this is The Future of America. Today's episode is going to be off the hook crazy. I have one of the leading sources of truth and information joining us today. It's none other than Lisa Haven. Lisa, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on. I am completely excited to be here. So thank you.
Thank you. Hey, Lisa, here's the deal. We are living in an America that's a hot mess, no doubt about it. What do you see going on in America today that we need to concern ourselves with?
Well, I think the biggest thing right now that we need to concern ourselves with at this very moment, because our freedom's at stake, our health is at stake, shall I say, the ownership of our own bodies is at stake. And I'm going to say the biggest thing right now that we cannot ignore are these vaccine mandates. Whether you've gotten the vaccine or not is beyond and beside the point. I think that's a personal choice. However, the thing that we have to acknowledge here is the Biden administration has crossed the line with these mandates that haven't even officially gone through yet, because all these companies are already jumping in on the bandwagon and getting everybody vaccinated. But to tell all your federal employees, to tell all businesses over 100 employees or more that you have to have your entire staff vaccinated or subjugate them to test every week, which we all know these companies can't afford testing people every single week. So they're very rarely approving any medical exemptions or any religious exemptions. And so everything is being treaded on unlike we've ever seen before. And here's the kicker to it, which a lot of people are not going to understand until the mandates fully go through. And I'm going to say about 1 million people have lost their jobs across the United States of America. But Biden is going to get, and his administration, due to these vaccine mandates, is going to get millions of people killed. And I say that because of this reason. Say you go to a hospital, and this particular hospital has the vaccine mandate. They have to by the Biden administration. Well, let's say this particular hospital had to lay off 1,000 employees. And this is not just at one hospital. This is multiple hospitals. Well, now if you need a surgery, a life-saving surgery, and they can't get you into that surgery in time due to staffing shortages, this is going to cause health issues for you. You could die as a result, or you could get to some area where you don't get that needed health care that you need because of the shortages in the hospital. And this is happening all across the country thanks to the Biden administration. I feel like he is doing this on purpose, because he actually gets on the loudspeaker, if you will, the television, and flaunts about it and brags about it. And it's not just the healthcare industry. If you have doctors you need to see, or you have specialists that you need to see, well, now there's going to be departments and areas where you're not going to be able to get that life-saving stuff that you need. Not to mention the EMTs, as many of you have heard, the EMTs are being subjugated to this as well. Well, unfortunately, if you call 911, the police officers are also, and the ones answering the phones, they're all subjugated to this. You might or might not get that 911 call picked up immediately, and they might tell you, hey, the police officers are backed up about 5-6 hours, or the next day, because, we're short staffed. So, that criminal at your house, you're going to have to handle for yourself. And those people subjugated to whatever crime or whatever event is happening that's going to risk their lives. So when I say they're putting millions of people at risk, they are. Same with the fire departments. Imagine the fire department not coming out to your home because they're short staffed, and whoever's inside that burning building, the fire department's not going to be there in time, thanks to the Joe Biden administration. And so this is everything. Now let's get into the food industry. And I know I'm dragging on, but I think this is real important. But now let's get into the food industry, right? My husband, who also works, on YouTube and has a channel, also he is a distributor to the restaurants, to the grocery stores. So we kind of have insight of what's going on. And what's happening here is you're getting massive delays, massive increases on food. And this is not about to get better. It's about to get far, far, far worse, with more layoffs on top of an already hurt society. So we're going to have less workers in the stores, less people to distribute the food, less products coming in because the people making the product have been subjugated to these vaccine mandates and let go, trying to vouch for smaller companies. It's kind of like a reshuffling of employees, but there's not going to be the ability to reshuffle immediately. It's going to take years. And not only that, we're going to have people who are now without a job, without a work, without the ability to pay for themselves. And they're going to have to rely on our, our churches and our food banks, and the lines on those are going to massively increase, all because of the Biden administration. And here's the kicker. He did it on top of a worker shortage that we currently have. And kind of the final nail in the coffin is going to be with the trucking industry. If this goes fully in, my brother's in the truck. He's a trucker. So, I've got a little bit of everything in my family, but he's a trucker. And if the trucking industry goes on a massive revolt, which I believe they will. I think the number of truckers that they're talking about that are going to refuse this mandate is about 30% was the estimated. I think it was anywhere between 37. And what I want to say to that is, imagine your grocery store right now, what it looks like. There's empty shelves, right? Pretty much 99% of the grocery stores now will take 1/3 of the products in those grocery stores and take them away, 1/3 of your shipping products and take them away. Because if we have a 1/3 shipping crisis, it's not just treadmills like Jen Psaki. Oh, you're just going to be missing your treadmills and your extra goodies. No. It's not just that. It is everything, our bread, our supplies for our farmers. Farmers, for example, farmers need wheels. They need parts to run the tractors, to make the food. And if these things are not being supplied, right, we can't, like our farmers are having a problem fixing the equipment because everything's on back order, because not only because of the pandemic, that just started at the pandemic, the lockdowns, Joe Biden paying people to stay home. But on top of these already hurt shipping container issues and these supply chain issues, now we have the vaccine mandate, people, and this is going to make what we're witnessing today look like a walk in the park. So Biden is literally going to kill thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions, I don't know, as a result to the disastrous stuff that he is now implementing in the United States of America. And I have to say, we have to get people more standing up against this.
Yeah, Lisa, it's interesting what's happening. People out there, and you and I both feel the same about social media and all that stuff, but people are blaming Trump, they're blaming the Illuminati, they're blaming the New World Order, but I don't think that's who's at fault. Do you?
No, obviously they have an agenda, and they've had agenda all along, but they need certain things to work with them. For example, the mainstream media. Right now, the mainstream media is their arm, is their workabout, and they've paid them off into oblivion. So they are pushing this leftist radical message. The problem is people claim, and I'm not talking about you and our listeners because they know, but I'm talking about the ignorant mass out there. They turn on the TV and they listen to CNN and they just listen to a piece, and they'll go on their way. And they actually say, we don't believe what they say, but they actually do when they go about their lives, because they hear it over and over and over and over again. Our schools, our colleges have all been taken over by radical leftists. And quite frankly, that's our fault for not standing against it when we could have. And I hate to say that, but it really is. We allowed prayer to be removed. We allowed immorality to run rampant. And we didn't get involved when these leftist radicals, when Communist Core came in, Common Core, that's what made our children even more radical. And now with critical race theory, at least some of us are now standing up, and we're starting to wake up, because it took really radical things to be implemented in our schools before people started waking up to the atrocities. But partially our fault for allowing some of that to happen. And that's why I say what we're looking at today is of critical importance. And I mean that. And right now, here's another thing the mainstream media is doing. Of course, the deep state and, the New World Order, the globalists, they're the money behind it, right? But they've got to have an army with them. But the mainstream media, what they're doing right now, Mike, is this. They put up a new thing, and it's called Striketober. Right. And they're talking about all these strikes and unions and all of this stuff. And this movement is completely funded by the radical left. Right. But since the mainstream media is in on it, nobody's hearing about it unless they're watching channels like you or I. So we have this Striketober going on, and it is a straight up cover. It's a cover for what is going on with all the people standing against the vaccine mandates, the restrictions. So the mainstream media is trying to say, hey, they're part of Striketober. No, they're not. They have nothing to do with this. That's funded by the Soros of the world. Yes, Open Society, George Soros, they're all in on this Striketober thing. And that's what the media is talking about. The media is ignoring the fact thousands of people took to New York streets, to the bridge there in New York City, and were solely against these mandates. And so they're trying to make it look like these people are standing for something else. Well, we can't allow that because they're trying to silence our voices and saying, oh, that's just something else, when it isn't. And this is another tactic that they use to misconstrue everything and get people to think one way or another. So we have to get the gear out there. We have to hold the signs. We have to make it relevant for what we're doing, so we're not drowned out. And the other thing that we have to do, Mike, like I really thought about the last question about what do we do, right?
Yeah, that's a good way. Individuals, Lisa, listening to us today, what do they do?
Well, I thought about this. Whether you're vaccinated or not, if you know somebody staging a walkout because of mandates, if you know there's a protest or something against these mandates, you got to get out there. First and foremost, you need to get out there and make sure they know what it's about, so it's not misconstrued by the media, and make sure there's alternative media there, if not the mainstream media, so this is being heard. Second thing, and I think this is more powerful even than the first, but you need alternative media, because if you're doing it and it doesn't get put out there, it gets hindered, right? But that's the beauty of what we do. But anyway, we have to do what MLK did, Martin Luther King Jr. That's what we have to do. When they stood in front of businesses and they weren't allowed to sit in certain sections, they would all line up together, hands and civil, not violently, but very peacefully, put their arms in front and prevent people from going in. Those are the kinds of things they did. Or if there's a restaurant that says vaccinated only, you have to go in there. A group of you together, go sit in there and say, I'm going to sit in here anyway, because it's my constitutional right. And you're in violation of the Constitution. And that's really what we have to do. And you might, they might drag you out. You might end up with a fine or whatever the case may be, but we have to protest civilly, non-violently, and do it the way that Martin Luther King did, and look and see what he did. And we have to emulate that to make our voices heard. And Martin Luther King got a lot of opposition back in the day, and look at the heat that he got, but look at what he accomplished. And that's what we have to do.
Yeah, absolutely, folks. Listen, what Lisa's saying is spot on. We need to stand up. You realize we got into this mess because their voice was louder than ours. So now we need to make our voices heard. Lisa, I want to thank you for joining us today. Your YouTube channel, how do people find you?
Yeah, you can find me just, you have to go on YouTube and plug in Lisa Haven, or on DuckDuckGo, you can plug in Lisa Haven and I'll come up. Unfortunately, I'm censored on Google. They don't even allow my stuff to come up. So don't look on Google. Or you can go to restrictedrepublic.com. I'm also there as well.
That's fantastic. Folks, you can also go to hearthewatchmen.com. I have a link to Lisa's YouTube channel right there on our homepage. Go on there and subscribe. Please subscribe to our show. When you subscribe to our shows, you're helping us to continue to get the word out there. So Lisa, again, thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Well, folks, that's going to wrap it up for this edition of The Future in America. We'll see you soon, like on Friday, with the next edition. And until then, don't ever forget, never give up, and get out there and help your brothers and sisters. Your voice counts. We'll see you next time.